Hi guys, it's Eril. I hope you're doing well. I apologize for having disappeared for quite a while, but here I am again. And in this video today, I would like to address an element that is sadly often overlooked in the creations of Galdrastaff, Bindrunes, and other forms of visual or graphical magic. It's about the ink. This is going to be a lengthy video, so you better grab your coffee and stick around. Many of you who are watching this video may already have experienced success in creating effective Galdrastaff and Bindrunes, while some of you may yet to experience success. One thing that I can tell you is that any sort of failure could be because of various reasons, but in most cases of sorceress struggles, it is all about might. Which of the participants is more powerful, then he or she is more likely to win. It is a battle of willpower, okay? And in order to increase your willpower, you need to have the boost of sorceress energy or sorceress powers behind your workings. And you can do this by utilizing the innate, inherent qualities in things that you find in nature. This would not only empower your workings, but also amplify it. It's like adding a super fuel into the gas or petrol of your car. And you can do this by using specific materials that you find in nature in the ink mixture that you're using to create your graphical magic. Okay, and there are three ways which you can do this. First is by doing ritual harvest. Second is by calling you the spirit of the ingredients that you're using. And third is by empowering the ingredients prior to use. Let me explain. Ritual harvest, like its name suggests, basically means that you're asking permission and give thanks to the materials that you're using to create your ink. I do this through verbal expressions and through gestures. When I go out to collect my ingredients in nature, for whatever I take, I would ask permissions first. Can I take you or parts of you? Would what I have be sufficient for exchange? If it is insufficient, what would you like for me to give you so that we can proceed with the exchange successfully? What would it take to satisfy you? Um, this is the kind of questions that I would ask, and it applies for all sorts of things. You know, things like plant matter, human or animal remains. Yes, I do work with human remains as well. Soil, stones, twigs, dry leaves, whatever. Anything that you take from nature, you can do this. And we're doing this because remember that we are regarding the ingredients as living and sentient beings with feelings and will as much as we have. And I suppose due to this sort of perspective, it is just sensible to be considerate and to be polite to them because, you know, we want something from them. So, yeah, you do that. And it is especially important when you're harvesting in sacred ground, where there are a lot of landvetter, you know, land wights, spirits, or some of you may call them fairies. You better do that. And how do you know that your question is answered? gut feeling. We all have this gift for discernment. Go by intuition. It would be quite appropriate for this sort of things. And when you know how your request is answered, then you can proceed to harvest the materials. And remember, be polite and give thanks when you leave. Second is by calling the spirit of the ingredients that you're going to use. Keep in mind that spirits have unique qualities, they have unique properties in them. And sorcerers, witches, from the time of antiquities, are known to utilize these qualities in order to boost their magical workings. Calling the spirit of the ingredients is especially important when you are working with materials that you get from someone else and you don't know how they are harvested. That's when it is really important, because spirits tend to leave their containing vessels, they tend to leave their home when they are not treated with respect or treated against their will. And in this case, your ingredient will be dead. Okay, they will hold no charge, or they will hold very little charge. Yes, you can still use them, but why settle for second best when you can get better one? Okay, and the procedure is similar to that of the ritual harvest. So basically you treat the ingredients, although it's dead, you still treat them with respect. You give them offerings, and then you ask the original spirit of those ingredients, what would it take for you to come back to your vessel? So basically you express your intent and negotiate and bargain for the sort of exchange that you want. It is all about compromise. Okay, and the third step is the empowerment of the ingredient. Just for the note, those two steps I've already described above, they already empower your ingredients, but personally I like to proceed one step further, just to seal everything and make sure that nothing is amiss. Empowerment of ingredients is a complementary step, and I usually do this when I acquire some ingredients which for some reason or another they're dead. Okay, so when I have ingredients that hold no charge, and for some reason I cannot call the original spirits back into the ingredients, then I would do this ritual of empowerment as the last resort. With ingredients that are dead, what I'd like to do is basically substituting their inherent powers, their lost powers, with divine powers by asking the gods to bless them, or necromantic powers by asking the ancestors to bless them. Better yet, do both. Alternatively, this is the good news, you can also use the power of the runes to empower the dead ingredients, basically. Because no matter how dead an ingredient is, it would still hold a reminiscence of power. They will still hold a minuscule amount of power, and what you want to do is jumpstart that power. You know, it's like jump starting a flat battery. And my favorite method of doing this is basically by breathing life back into the ingredients using the 5 elements: fire, water, earth, air, and spirits. This is classic. Most of you should know this by now. You can do this by hovering the ink ingredients over the flame to bless it with fire. then offer the smoke of incense to represent air, sprinkle it with sacred water to bless it with the water element, and press it close to the ground to bless it with earth element. And lastly, you can hold it up high in the air in order to ask blessings from the spiritual realms, whether it is from the divine or from the ancestors. Okay, and it is by far, I believe, the most common ritual of activations that is employed by many uh, spiritual practitioners around the world. Something that you should really keep in mind is that all the four elements out of the five, fire, earth, air, and water, they all should be blessed themselves. They all should be sacred in some way or another. So, for example, the candle that you're using, for the flame, or the firewood that you're using for the flame, should be sacred, should be blessed. Same goes with the water. Perhaps you also take the earth from a sacred ground, and the incense perhaps was chosen for their specific aroma, or perhaps it's been blessed in one way or another. When you have, the blessing materials to bless your ingredients, then it would be a lot better compared to when you're doing this with ordinary materials. Okay, ideally you should also be doing this in a sanctified ritual ground. You get the idea. All right, so anyway, after you have done all these things, then you can be sure that you have the best ingredients available to you. You have the best ingredients that you can get your hands on without costing you too much. All these things may sound like a complicated process, but really, once you do it, they're actually very simple. Okay, so now please do not be content with a Sharpie and paper. It's fine when you're doing the draft, but when you need to send forth some serious magic, get the proper ingredient. Next time I will talk about the actual media on which you paint, on which you carve, or you draw your Galdrastaff or Bindrunes, but that would be for the next video. I hope you find all this information useful. It's Eril Bolverkr. Until next time, bye bye.